We're joined now by Stuart Butler, who joins us from the Heritage Foundation, an expert on all matters budget. And I want to dive right into this debate over the debt ceiling. What's your sense of how far this can go before you have to see one side or the other blink? No one wants to see the debt ceiling not increase and us default on our debt.
Well, I think it can go quite a way because you can start cutting back on other things, other spending, before you touch interest rates and default or anything like that. But I think it's also important to realize that this is the shape of things to come because we've got such a surge of spending now over the next several years, several decades actually, that unless we have a permanent fix to the spending side of the equation, particularly entitlements, we're going to see these kinds of debt ceiling sort of brinkmanship practically every year for the future.
And what does this do, though, for the market? I mean, you know, at this point, you hear a lot of people saying, well, look, they're in on the joke. The markets get that it's going to pass. We're not going to default. But at some point, do our creditors start to get nervous? And does this affect the economy?
Yes, I think our creditors start getting nervous if they think that there really isn't the determination to fix the problem in a long-term way. If they just see it as a series of just trying to get by every single time, then I think gradually there will be increasing concern that ultimately we will have a debt ceiling vote where we actually don't have an agreement and we do go into default. That is precisely why we have to address these basic programs like Medicare and Social Security as quickly as possible to get on the right track to avoid that potential default.
But why is the time to do it now? Clearly, we could have that discussion, and everyone acknowledges that the fiscal problems are out there. Why do it when you're playing chicken around the debt ceiling?
Well, I think you've got to do it at some point. The debt ceiling vote does at least push people to say what they really intend to do over the long term. And so I think it's an action-forcing event. But as I said, I don't think the actual debt ceiling vote itself is the critical issue. It is whether or not Congress begins to make a stab at getting the big entitlement programs under control. And that's what we think needs to happen.
And given what you know about Washington and watching this play out, what are the odds that some real structural changes that make real significant dents in our entitlement spending will happen this year?
Well, I think there's a fair chance that at the very least, we will see serious proposals out on the table this year, and that maybe these will be on the table right through the next election, and that the next election may in fact be a referendum on different approaches to deal with this long-term problem. I think if we had an election on that and decided it and have a serious conversation with the American people about which direction they want to go in, I think that could be very, very important for the long-run economic health of the country. So I hope it happens.
Mr. Butler, as you know, all the Republicans in the House are over at the White House today. Is there any indication that Republicans and Democrats are going to be able to find some agreement here, that these Biden talks and anything else are going to get somewhere? We just heard Congressman Stutzman again say there's not going to be any tax hikes as part of this. The White House has made clear they want that to be part of the discussion.
Well, I think what has to happen next is that in addition to the very few people like Congressman Ryan who've actually put forward a serious proposal that of course has been voted by the House, then those who have different visions of how to solve this problem have actually got to come up to the plate and put forward those proposals. If people think that taxes are the right way to go, and they really want to have significant increases in the amount of money going to Washington, they've got to put forward their proposal so that then you can have a conversation. You can't have a negotiation where essentially only one side is showing its cards and the other side is not.
Right. All right. Stuart Butler from the Heritage Foundation, thanks for being here. Expert on all matters budget.
My pleasure.
Appreciate it. That does it for this edition of Top Line. Twitter.com/Rick Klein, Twitter.com/Amy E. Walter.